What is going on? This is the Not So Clean Hits post-game show. Guys, we may be a little cursed here. I think out of the 5 shows we've done, we may have won one of them. There was a lot of times that game felt like it could have been a win, coulda, woulda, shoulda type of situation there. I don't think anybody is actually disappointed with that loss, but man, can we please just win 2 stinking games in a row?
Yeah, still haven't done that since the start of October, right? Since the start of the season.
Yeah.
Saw a lot of good things tonight. Yeah, saw a lot of good things tonight, but also saw a lot of things that continue to drag down this team, right? Too many penalties, too many bad second periods. First period was great. Second period was the worst of the 3, and third was kind of so-so, but really great start to the game. Lots of chances early. Really like the Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunther line. Yeah, just couldn't get it done.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that I noticed about this team is there's good in being consistent, right? I mean, that's, what builds championship teams is consistency. But there also needs to be a level of adaptability. And I'm going to give them a pass tonight because that's the perfect team over there in Dallas. That's an incredible team. They're stacked from top to bottom. But I did kind of see, I saw a lot of like forced high cycle opportunities that they were trying. They're trying to get too cute with it. It wasn't until the last minute scramble that they were literally throwing everything at the net. And that's when the puck was going in. And Casey DeSmith looked amazing tonight. I thought it was Ottinger in there for a while there. So I just think that, it's definitely something that you can hang your hat on, that you push them to the rope. But yeah, it's being adaptable would be kind of nice.
Yep. Well, we'll let some people trickle in here. In the meantime, I am Brad. I got the big old glass of red wine right now. We got Corey phoning it in from Toronto. Not in the bad way. You showed up. It's late. I get it. So you always do a killer job with the late night. And then Kenny being a champ with a little bit of the sniffles. You got a little bit of a cold there? Well, thank you for joining.
A little bit, yeah.
Playing injured.
Yeah. Long way from the heart.
Yeah. Upper body injury, right?
Upper body injury. That's incredible. It's in the sinus area for sure.
Yeah. But again, this is the Clean Hits, Not So Clean Hits post-game show. So cover your ears, cover the kids' ears if they're tuning in. There may be some slips there. This is where we get to lay loose a little bit and get to air out our grievances. And again, like I mentioned when we started, we haven't gotten to celebrate much in the post-game show. So hopefully that starts to turn around, and then I can not be chugging wine during these things. But definitely get in here, get in the comment section. We love talking to you guys. This is super interactive. We'll be here for probably about 20, 30 minutes or so. Let us know what your thoughts were of the game, and definitely make sure you check us out at cleanhitshockey.com. Was a little slow these past 2 weeks with the articles, but we got a bunch of great content coming out. We got a Tisha Ginla kind of I guess like a profile. It's not really a profile, kind of a report card-ish. We had the news today that he was not invited to the World Junior training camp. So Trent's going to give us the whole lowdown on that. We got some other interesting bits. I don't want to give too much away, but make sure you're subscribed there at cleanhitshockey.com for all of our written content. And then make sure you're following us on Instagram for all the meme action. And of course, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. That's my homework. I'm done spouting it out. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Perfect game to win, to be honest. We got Dallas, who clearly were thinking about last night's game going into yesterday's game against the Winnipeg Jets, who have been stumbling a little bit. They come out with a big win, had Ottinger in net, and then they travel to Utah, back up Casey DeSmith in, who I think is one of the league's better and at least consistent backups. Tyler Seguin, who has given the Stars depth scoring, honestly, wait. I need to rewind here. he's given the top line a new lease on life, because Hintz and Jason Robertson and whoever else they put up there haven't been great this season in the point standpoint. Meanwhile, the Sagan Duchesne Marchment line is making NHL cappers so much money every day. Stacking their points is just chef's kiss here. But he's out. The lines are kind of shuffled around. This would have been the perfect opportunity to string together 2 wins, and we got goalied. Kind of felt like we got goalied.
Mm-hmm. Outplayed Dallas for sure, right? Outshot them. Yep. I think in the first period we had 15 something shots. We haven't done that very much this year, if at all. But like we were talking about before we hit the record button, obviously you don't like to lose. It's always frustrating to lose. But if you're going to lose games, much rather lose games like this than the losses we've seen earlier this year. The game against Boston, the game against Nashville. For a good stretch there, it looked like we were going to get shut out again. So very thankful to see the goal there from Schmaltz. And Nick Schmaltz has really come on since he got that first goal. That was something else we were talking about. As soon as he gets that first one, the second, third, fourth one wouldn't be far behind. And all of a sudden he was at 0 goals for the longest time, and all of a sudden he's now at 3.
Yeah, he's in the Schmaltzness spirit here. But it's. I agree with you. I mean, this was not as frustrating as a loss as we've seen, but there's also room for criticism here. There's still some sorry, I just saw SLC Pucks Austin's comment there. Yeah. What's up, Austin? But yeah, there's still some critique to be handed out. I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but Valimaki frustrates me every time he touches the puck. If he's got a clear shot to the net, he throws a muffin. If he doesn't have a clear shot and he's trying to bank it off somebody, it goes high and wide. Michelli shows a ton of speed, but he always does that pullback and looks for the high man coming in. And teams are reading that now. And you can tell by his numbers. Barrett Hayton, for whatever reason, is just not spending enough time in front of the net like he was in the beginning of the year. Which is why he keeps getting shuffled up and down the lineup. So part of that could be just due to the fact that there is a lack of cohesiveness, just due to how many times the lineup has changed. But there's definitely a lot of work to be done, especially now that we're essentially down to one starting goalie and one backup goalie for the I don't know how
foreseeable future.
Yeah, foreseeable future. That's what I was going for. 2 weeks, right? I'm just kidding. But no. So if we do want to stay in the fight, I know we beat this drum quite a bit, and I'm sure people are probably tired of us talking about it. But I would imagine we're going to see a couple roster moves here before the roster freeze.
Any surprise tonight that Karel Vejmelka started with Jackson Stauber coming off a shutout against a very good Vegas team?
I don't know.
No,
Brad, you go ahead.
I think this was the right move. I think Vejmelka deserves the starts as well, and I think at some point here, how does that affect Vejmelka's confidence if the kid just gets the next start, even though he's been playing probably the best he has since the first year he came to the team?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was fully supportive of Vejmelka playing tonight, but I just thought maybe, just especially coming off a shutout, that he might get another chance. But at the same time, if you could play Vejmelka tonight, then you got a chance to rest him for quite a bit, right? Because the next game's not until Saturday, which is Buffalo, and then I think it's Philadelphia the next night, right? So you got 2 less than stellar teams coming up, so there's another chance to sneak in Stauber.
Yeah, I agree. And before we talk about kind of those games that are coming up, I wanted to go back on some other player performances from tonight's game. A little bit, some of the notes I had here, I kind of thought that was Mata's worst game. He played a good amount of minutes again, but there was a sequence in the third where he
hit a brutal
probably
pass.
Was gassed, but I think him being a veteran and has a lot of miles on him as a player, this is where you're going to maybe start to see why he was kind of the odd man out in Detroit. And again, I know when that trade happened, there was a lot of Detroit fans that didn't want it to be Mata, but he was probably the most valuable out of kind of the extra vets that they did have. But this is one of those periods where, man, you really wish Valimaki was showing a little bit more. Even Koleachonok was showing a little bit more consistency, so then maybe you can kind of reduce Mata's minutes for a little bit. The flip side of that, I thought this was Cole's best string of games in a while here, and had another stellar performance. I thought on top of the sneaky good little defensive plays that you're kind of used to seeing from Cole, I thought he was really doing a wonderful job in the offensive end. He was kind of driving the net more than you typically see from him. So I thought those were kind of the two little standouts that maybe not wouldn't get as mentioned as much. And then the guy I had to call out to was Carcone. The motor he had tonight. And not to shuffle all the lines up too much, but I do kind of wish at one point here he got bumped up with Kraus and Bukestad, because Bukestad was kind of getting in front of the net. He was kind of banging bodies. Kraus was getting a little bit engaged behind the net and up against the boards, getting a little bit more in front of the net as well. And like you mentioned, Kenny, that Michelli was just kind of circling around both of them. And if you had Carcone's drive on that line, I kind of wonder if that could have been the spark plug that they needed a little bit earlier. But those were kind of the three players that I kind of wrote down that I wanted to bring up.
Yeah. I just, for lack of a better term, I just think this team lacks some serious balls. Nobody's going towards the net. They're all looking to make the perfect pretty pass, and don't get me wrong, when they execute, it looks amazing. But that's not how championship teams operate. You see how Vegas won the Stanley Cup. See how Vegas got to the finals in their first season. You have to go out there and bang bodies, intimidate them, get to the net, get in the goalie's head. And it's just right now we have a lot of, and don't get me wrong, Carcone was by far and away the best player on the ice tonight, on Utah's side, I think. Mm-hmm. I think even our bigger guys kind of took a night off. Keller didn't look the same. Sergachev didn't look the same. But that's what you need. You need depth from within, and Carcone showed it. I just didn't see it much from anyone else besides the guys that you would normally expect. But yeah, I've seen so many times that we're trying to replicate the same play that's worked in the past, and the NHL's smarter than that. They scout for a reason. They know what to look for, and I don't know where that comes from. I don't know if that's the associate coaches or if that's Bear's call. If the players are going out there just going with what works for them, but something's got to change.
Yeah, you are seeing a lot of the same things every game, right? Too many penalties, too many bad second periods, good starts, which is something that's kind of haunted this franchise in the past, going back to Arizona. But going back to the defense there, I think one other name who just saw a lot of ice time tonight that he's really not capable of handling anymore is Bertuzzo. We did call up Max Zuber, and he is a left side D, but I think he'll still come in, and maybe we see Bertuzzo come out next game. I don't know if you're going to see both Zuber and Koleachonok come in, but we do have options there if you want to, pull back the minutes for Valimaki. I didn't like Olli Mata's game tonight either, but I wonder at the same time, like, he was not playing very much in Detroit, and now all of a sudden he's playing like 8 minutes more. Plus, like, when was the last time he played this much? Probably back to Pittsburgh. So that's a pretty big adjustment.
Yeah.
And he's
maybe that year in LA.
Yeah. I mean, he's only 30, but it seems like he's a lot older because he's been in the league forever.
Yeah. I thought he was so young still. That's so funny.
He looks young. He's got a much younger face than S3, unfortunately.
I'm like, yeah, he was drafted the same year as Keller.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. It feels like he's Keller's draft year?
No. That's what I said on a previous podcast.
Olli Levy.
Yeah, I was thinking about Olli Levy. Yeah. Wrong Olli there. Man, I forgot where I was going there.
I think for the forward crop too, though, I would say the Gunther Cooley McBain line looked better than our normal top line of Keller, Schmaltz, and Barrett Hayton. Would like to see. I thought Barrett Hayton looked okay. Would like to see him get a goal here at some point. It's too bad he didn't get one in that Vegas game, right, when everyone was breaking their bad luck. So now he goes into he went all of November without a goal, and now starting December without one either.
Yeah. I offensively, I'd love to see him get going again. SLC Puck, our friend Austin said, did Trent get fired? And no, he just took,
he's in Norway scouting the 2034 class.
Yep. He's getting his homework done already. So we're very thankful for that. And keep your eye out for that article that'll be coming out sometime in the next 2 years or so, once that class gets a little bit older and ready to get going. But yeah, I thought Hayton had some moments. I thought there were some points where I really liked his assertiveness and aggressiveness. I noticed that he really pushed himself in front of players to win board battles. Again, he's one of those players that you got to kind of watch the small things he does. I think one of you mentioned, I think it was Kenny, though, that he seems to just be a little bit lagging to getting right in front of the net or parking himself there quick enough. It seems like there's a little hesitation there, or I can't quite put my finger on it. But again, it still goes into the whole idea that this is a player that has a lot more facets to his game than just being kind of that net front presence. He's got a hell of a shot, and we just still don't see it enough. And when we're talking about seeing the same things over and over, with the cycling, for instance, looking for the perfect pass and perfect lane that's open, that's one of those things that I'd like to see Schmaltz or Keller kind of toss it to Hayton to really kind of give it a classic slapper, or just kind of give that rocket of a shot out to the goaltender and really start to test them in that way. Now, one thing on the flip side that I have been noticing that is a welcome change is Cooley's net front presence. I kind of made a joke in the Clean Hits Discord in our game day thread, which had tons of activity tonight. Make sure you're in that. Our link is in the Twitter bio. We have a ton of fun in there, but I've been slamming my fist on the table for Cooley to sit around and watch Braden Point power play videos and just watch his goals on repeat. And it got so bad. I still live in the dark ages and only have a VHS player. I went back and recorded every single power play goal he had, and I just looped it. Each VHS is a single goal, 10 hours long. And I sent a box to Cooley, and I have a feeling he's watching them because he is starting to play kind of in between the slot, not a net front presence where Hayton's looking for the deflection. Cooley's looking for kind of that bumper slot, trying to get those rebounds, trying to get the pretty pass really close where he can use those soft hands of his to kind of bump it in. And near the end of the game, we saw that Schmaltz kind of push it back to Cooley for an opportunity. And I think the whole team is starting to realize that he's starting to figure out that position. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, Cooley, I hope you're carefully reading the labels on those VHS tapes there.
Yes,
so, yeah. So, but no, I love what we're seeing too. He was out there with that late draw too. Like they're showing more confidence in him. I said it the other night in our group chat. Watch his defensive play. This is going to sound crazy, but he reminds me like a young Kopitar out there when Kopitar was running around like a man with his head on fire. And again, that's why I said it's going to sound crazy. Kopitar's an insane talent, but there's no saying Cooley can't get there. But he's got such high IQ, and he's normally when people are just going in there to fish, stick their stick in there and just kind of hope for the best and flail it around. Cooley's angling his body, lifting up sticks, winning board battles with his brain instead of his size. So it's definitely a night and day difference from his rookie season, and his rookie season was incredible. So I'm excited. I'm glad he's doing the homework you assigned him.
Yeah, he's looking at like a 50% increase on last year. He finished with 44 points last year, and he's going to end up with 60-something. That's what he's on pace for right now, which is huge for a sophomore year, right? When usually a lot of players have a successful rookie season, they take a bit of a step back in the second year. We saw that with Clayton Keller especially. I think we can probably all agree that, Mikhail Sergachev has been the best player this year. But, who's, second place on this team now? When we did our Players of the Month for October, we had Clayton Keller in that spot. And I think we didn't do the 3 stars for November, but, looking at where we are after 22 games or whatever it is, I think I would now have Logan Cooley in that second spot. For November, I would think, Sergachev, Cooley, Vejmelka. And over the season, I think Cooley's pulled ahead of Clayton Keller and pulled ahead of Dylan Gunther because he didn't have those big, long goalless droughts that those two did.
Yeah, I think Cooley's month of November has actually been carrying the team a little bit to an extent, and along with kind of that resurgence of offense that we saw on that line with McBain coming there. And speaking of McBain, good morning, Flo, who says McBain needs more net front time at important moments as he is more willing to get dirty and physical, and I would like to see that. I mean, at what point here do we try to shift him up into kind of being a screen of the goaltender or kind of playing that more typical net front presence role where you're going for the deflection, especially on that power play or second power play unit. But that all that being said is that I hope McBain stays on that second line with Cooley and Gunther, because that chemistry is fantastic, and he's bringing an element to that line that was very similar to what Krause was bringing in previous seasons when he was playing with Michelli and Bukestad. So,
yeah, I think it makes too much sense for it to not happen, Flo, which makes me wonder if there's a reason why it's not happening. And I know I'm kind of going tinfoil hat here, but I think they're really trying to plug in players that they really want to see thrive, that have maybe been underwhelming, and trying to put them in the dirty areas to get a couple garbage goals that increase their confidence. Again, this is completely speculative, but I 100% agree with you. He's a big body. He's not afraid to get nasty. He's got good hands. I mean, he's playing with friggin' Cooley and Gunther. I mean, those guys are hard to keep up with, and he's doing a great job. So I 100% agree. I'm just wondering if maybe coaches are not doing it because they've got other people in mind.
And I like him on the wing too, because it just clears up the bottom half of the forward group, right? Where you have Kevin Stenlund, who's a great force center. You have Kerfoot, who can slot into center. You have Bukestad, wherever he's going to fit, third, fourth line. And McBain does look a lot better on the wing. And like you said, he's the new Krause, and he's just really making that line work.
Yeah. I do like the idea, though, of Jeff Merrick's proposition of positionless hockey. I know it's probably not Jeff Merrick's original idea, but maybe it is, and I apologize for the ricochet there, Jeff. But I think I do think that you have a guy that goes in there that takes the face off, and then after that, it's just whoever makes the most sense where. I think a young team like Utah would be the perfect prototype to try to test that out. Especially if, Hayton's not standing in front of the net as much, then you potentially, I know they're not playing on the same line together, but you cycle somebody else in there that will, or, the players read that. It's their responsibility to read that. So I don't know. It's just something that I would like to see, because it's the monotony is kind of getting to me a little bit. This team looks the same pretty much every night.
Yeah, I think, really fortunate in that Vegas game. Samsonov was not very good. They were coming off a back-to-back too, I believe.
Yeah, I think they had.
Every night in Vegas is a back-to-back.
Actually, I think they just played.
I think I had 3 nights in one night in Vegas.
Yeah. I mean, obviously take the win, but you're not going to beat Vegas 6-0 every time, right? So take the win, take the goals. But we are seeing a lot of the same issues, a lot of the same patterns in these games where, coming up to this game against Buffalo, which is kind of right around where we are in the standings, do we have to make any changes, or do we just keep rolling the same group?
I think, well, first and foremost, I think Linus Ullmark had the most perfect opportunity to do something hilarious tonight and just clap back against Samsonov the other night, because they have this weird beef that's going on over Instagram. It's definitely worth studying. You guys should check it out. But I do think it is something that I'm kind of with you there, Corey. I almost would prefer to just ride it out at this point. We got a lot of long-term injuries. We got Ingram out, Marino. I don't know who knows when he's going to play. Dursey might be coming back sooner than we thought, but he's still going to be out for a long time. Kind of hovering right around 500, a little less than. At this point, I would prefer to ride it out, but I think just due to the fact that we are still so close and it's still early yet, I don't see them sitting idly by. I mean,
let's talk about that. So
who we trading tonight?
This may be the most bizarre road trip I've ever seen in my life. So the team does not play until Saturday. It's Monday, right? Yes. And
I think I'm going to that game too. So I would like to see a win here. 0-3 already. Yeah. So
if they can't score more than I think actually the first game you saw live, they didn't score. The second game they have
shut up by Ottawa. They got 1, and then they got
third game they
two
had
against
2.
Toronto. Oh, so they get 3 here.
They'll have 3 to So as long as Buffalo scores less than 3, we should be all right. But they play Saturday afternoon in Buffalo. Then the following day, Sunday, mind you, in Philly, Sunday evening game. And then they come back to play Minnesota on Tuesday, then go play the Avalanche on Thursday, the Sharks away on Saturday, and then they still don't consistently have a homestand for a little bit, not until December 22nd. So these next couple of games are really interesting as the team is kind of hovering around a playoff spot. And, I know we've mentioned it a lot. You've probably heard it a lot, that being in a playoff spot is like 75% of the teams in one after American Thanksgiving, which just passed. Hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving, by the way. That obviously there's room for other teams to make it. So they're in a good spot still. And a lot of that comes from overtime losses, which is giving them the 1 out of 2 points those games. But there's been a lot of bad luck too, between injuries, between just some puck luck, probably adapting to a new home as well. So, there's distractions, I'm sure. And they're still kind of hanging in there despite all of this. I think this next little grouping of games, and they're very bizarre, could be huge. Because if they can pull off, if they were to pull off a win in Buffalo and Philly, that would be a fantastic way to keep on rolling through December. But more importantly, I think, are those games against the Wild and the Avalanche, and specifically the Avalanche, because the Wild have far surpassed my expectations of them this season.
That feels like a great game.
Goaltending. Yeah.
First game back from a road trip? Or it's in Utah, right? It's not in Minnesota?
Yeah, it is in Utah. I guess I'd need to look at Minnesota's schedule too.
Either way, I don't think we're winning that game.
But the Avs are really close to us in the standings, and that could be a huge game.
And they still haven't got the goaltending figured out. I don't care if they got Scott Wedgwood. That's not going to solve anything.
Yeah. That was a weird trade. Yeah. It's kind of like me and my fantasy football team. We have a 5-way tie for second place, and every week I change it up, saying I'm a seller, I'm a buyer, I'm a seller, I'm a buyer. They're again, to Brad's point there, I think we're in this weird purgatory where we don't know which direction to go yet. We just kind of have to ride it out a little bit. I do think that they're going to add another piece. I don't know where, if that's goaltending, if that's defense, because, man, we cannot catch a break on injuries to our defensemen. Or, are we showcasing some players? Carconi seemed to get a lot of minutes tonight, and he, we also had rumblings there, right? And so I don't know. We'll see where it all leads to, but it's kind of the gross, icky spot to be in as a hockey fan, especially right around this time of year where the pack starts to separate itself, and you're just kind of stuck in that gross, dark, dank Yeti cave, not knowing where to go.
Yeah, it is pretty wild though, considering all the injuries and not having gone back to back since the 3-0 start to the season, that they are only a handful of points out. So I mean, that's really the frustrating part, right? Where if you could just string together some wins or just avoid these injuries, or not throw away points like the San Jose game or that Vegas game where they lost in regulation with a minute to go, right? There's 2 or 3 points right there, and then you take those and you're in the playoff spot. So maybe we see a bit of a buy and sell here, right? Where they can, if they're not in the mix, they can move out guys like Ian Cole. And I know we were talking about our group chat tonight. That could be a perfect fit for Dallas of all teams, having lost. Who did they lose? Oh, Tanev, right? Went to Toronto.
And then Toronto
different sides of the ice.
Cole the next year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but maybe we move out pieces like that, but also bring in guys who can play right now. Didn't like the price on David Jiricek, but if you can bring in those types and you can still compete, right? It's not a total sell-off, and that's where this team needs to be. It needs to start climbing the ladder.
Yep. Agree.
Yeah, I'd agree, because as Trent mentioned, we had 77 points last year in Arizona and currently are on a 79-point pace. So this is a real thin sheet of ice, if you will, of kind of.
So you're saying that we're improving.
Another team very much in that window, Ottawa Senators, are on pace for fewer points than last year. They had mid-70s last year. They have 2 wins in their last 9 or 10 games. Lost in a shootout. Yeah, exactly. Lost in a shootout to Anaheim last night. Never once had the lead in that game. Heard rumors about their core. We talked about it in a previous episode. Who knows, right? If there's some kind of fit there.
Yeah. It's going to be probably a pretty interesting couple of weeks here. It's funny how I feel like I have been saying this all season, because this team is yo-yoing right now. Every time it seems like they can't get it together, they do. And then every time they get it together, they can't keep it rolling. So going to be interesting to see how these next couple games kind of pan out. If we can start to string together some consecutive wins, if we can maybe kind of jump ahead of the gap of kind of that mushy middle, and start to define which way this team is going. I mentioned it earlier today on the Twitter account. There's a lot of similarities to me to what New Jersey went through last season, where there were tons of expectations, a little bit different because Jersey had that awesome playoff run where they beat their rivals, the Rangers, the year before, but had terrible goalie injuries and luck, bad play by the goalies they did have. Hamilton pretty much missed the whole season. I think, did Siegenthaler go out too?
They had all kinds of injuries.
Yeah, all kinds of injuries up and down the lineup, and it kind of feels similar to what this team's going through. And you don't want to make it an excuse, but
if we have to be last year's New Jersey for next season to be this year's New Jersey, I'll take that.
Agreed.
I do think, though, we just need more guys. We lost Maverick Lamoureux now probably until the new year, right? 4 to 6 weeks. We anticipate it's a broken hand just based on he came back on the bench and he was working his hand like that. But, if we're already stretched, right? We have Max Zuber up. We're making Tucson thin with all these call-ups. We don't really want to play Kolyachonok. We don't really want to play Bertuzzo. Who knows about Max Zuber? So just need some more guys. We need maybe another Oli Mata style trade or even something bigger than that just to get some more depth on this team.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting at how many extra mid to late round picks you're willing to move just for some band-aids, because how much of a difference is that going to make too? So
that's right. That's it. We're bringing in Oli Ulevi, so I stopped messing it up. I have a feeling it's going to happen. We're going to have the Olis in the back. But the Oli pair. I think management shares your point of view, Corey. I think we all know it's going to happen. We're too close for us not to do something. So I would like to see a big change up.
Jacob Trouba
would be sick.
Rangers
just don't see it
spanked again.
Yeah, I just don't see it happening. I don't know. I mean, there's rumors about his wife's residency in the hospital and that he doesn't want to separate, and good on him for that. I get that. No problem with the player exercising the right that they're contractually they wrote into the contract, right? So I just don't know. I mean, I suppose he's got a no movement clause. Or is it
15
no
team,
trade?
no trade. 15
Okay,
team,
no trade. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see.
And 1 year left on his deal, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's like what, 5 million?
No, it's 8. I think it's up there.
Is it really? Wow,
it's a
I'm way
ton.
off.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna check that, but yeah,
Damn
it's
it, Dexter. No, that's
yeah, I and don't forget they pick their teams before free agency,
Trouba, $8 million.
right?
okay.
Or right after free agency, I believe, and then they're locked into those teams. So there's a good chance
you can't change them. So what if he had Arizona on there?
Every single year you can switch it.
Oh, okay, got you.
But I think you lock it in.
The no trade clauses. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's July 1st or whatever the date is.
It's right before free agency begins. Yeah.
Oh, but okay, so it's not when your contract ends. It's every July 1st. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Especially him, because he went from a full new move to a 15-team list. So
sure.
He can put together his 15. So an American, he's probably got all of Canada on there, and then pick another 8 teams from there. Yeah. Probably. Well, I guess doesn't want to go back to Winnipeg, but that's part of Canada. But then beyond that, you have 8 other teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine especially if he just had a kid, it's probably.
I'd love to see it
in the West. But
I'd love to see it. He's so nasty. He's a right-handed shot. He's got leadership capabilities. You saw him pump up his entire team after a fight last year, and it got me going. It's
even a couple of days ago going against
Anderson,
Josh Anderson with Montreal.
It was a hell of a fight. It was a hell of a fight.
Yeah.
The
issue with him just long term, because he does have that one other year on his deal, is him being a right shot D. So you have Dursey, you have Marino, you have Maverick Lamoureux, you have Kesselring, and then you have Trouba. So that's 5 guys right defense. So where does everyone fit? Dursey can play the left side, which he did play in LA. He's not as effective there, but you can still do that. But then where does everybody else fit? Michael Kesselring is obviously a full-time player at this point. So that's the only kind of hang up with Trouba. So unless you want to bring in a left shot D, and then you can go Owen Power or something. We're going to Buffalo anyway, right?
Might as well
get him while we're there. Yeah.
Power up, if you will.
And Buffalo is very much a team like Ottawa, right? Where this was supposed to be another year for them where they're going to finally move up the ladder. They're not quite doing it. They were kind of hovering around a playoff spot a couple of years ago. I don't know if they still are, but I would still think they're not going to make it just based on that division, right? Toronto's in, Tampa's in, probably. Boston's kind of making a bit of a comeback.
5-4-1 in their last 10, but Boston is the same and have leaped them in the standings. Boston has more points than Tampa. They've played 3 more games, though. I'm sorry. They have 27 points in 26 games. Point percentage wise, actually, they are just a little smidge above Buffalo. So,
and isn't Kucherov out right now?
He was out the other day. I think it was just day to day. I don't know if he's back.
Oh, just day to day. Okay.
He didn't play against Toronto.
Okay. So, well, I think that pretty much covers it. I don't know about you guys.
I did want to bring up one more comment. I kind of wanted to grab it earlier too from Spaceman. Play them 3 more times like that, and we'll get them next time. I kind of inferred that he meant how well they played, but maybe it's just the luck of the draw, because I think the Arizona Coyotes / Utah franchise has a terrible history against that team.
And just frustrating too not to take advantage of a game when Jake Ottinger's not playing.
Agreed.
Because we're probably not going to see Casey DeSmith next time, unless it's another back-to-back. But
Yep. But I think that it would still looked a lot better than some of those Arizona games against Dallas in the past.
It looks better than a lot of those Utah games the last 2 weeks, right?
Right.
3 weeks. The Nashville game was awful. Boston game was sloppy. Throwaway period in Toronto. Who else do we have recently? Lots. That's probably the biggest frustration of this season, is just lots of points thrown away by. I mean, part of it is growing pains with the young players, but another part of it is just a lot of the same mistakes, a lot of the same penalties, and taking, like, we're the most penalized team, and it's not because we're tough.
No.
Maverick Lamoureux did do us a solid, get like 130 in 2 seconds, but But yeah,
it was already before that too, and for seasons it's been that bad.
Yeah, but no, it's I agree. I mean, I think about the thrown away points, and immediately the first game that pops in my head is how did we lose that San Jose game? And that's where it kind of all started to fall apart. So maybe it's a confidence issue. Who knows? But something's got to give, and you can't keep going back doing the same things and expecting different results. There's some kind of quote there that I'm messing up, but it's the definition of an insanity, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry, the NyQuil's kicking in, guys. But yeah, no, that's pretty much the gist of it. Really, is they just keep hammering home the same thing, playing the same style. They can't expect different results.
And getting closer and closer to that Christmas roster freeze. I think it's generally December 21st, something like that. Yeah. They don't play any games on the 24th, 25th, 26th, but it's a couple days before that. Generally we don't see a lot of action around that, like the trade deadline in March, but it does. I mean, it's a trigger point, right? Forces action if any team wants to change anything, because if you don't make a move then you're probably stuck until early January, because no one's really trading guys around that time of the year, except I think it was on December 26th when Derek Stepan had to pack his boxes in Arizona to head to Ottawa.
Yeah,
maybe the 27th, but it was right around Christmas.
Bill Armstrong's first trade ever.
Yeah, and it brought in the pick that got Josh Stone.
Yeah, it's a second round pick.
Injured at the time too, or not?
No, I think his wife was pregnant.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
jeez, yeah. Well,
don't
mess with BA.
Right. Exactly.
Don't drink Bud Lights like Austin from SLC Puck was with the Tyson Nash on the Nash Cash. Which, congrats, Austin. That was awesome. But can't Bud do that in front of BA, or he'll ship you out to Ottawa too.
Yeah. Is that a beer belly I'm seeing there? Sorry. I'm going to take advantage of this little bit of a sultry voice I got and record a bunch of cameos for Bill Armstrong. So I had a big wave. The big waves are good. I love those. But yeah, don't let BA catch you.
Yeah.
It's too bad there's not a Bill Armstrong expression. Like John Chayka had premium and what's that other one I can't think of? Optionality, yeah. Oh, you know what Armstrong does say a lot? It's the player's name of the world, like the Logan Cooley's of the world, Dylan Hunters of the world. There you go.
The SLC Pucks of the world.
He plays a big game.
There you go.
His favorite word's big. How are we missing this?
He drinks a big Bud Light.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I think the NyQuil has kicked in. I'm almost done with my glass of NyQuil, and I know it's getting late for you, Corey. So I think probably should wrap this up. We got some great episodes of the podcast coming out this week. We definitely have a special guest, if not two. So keep your eyes out for that. Again, I wouldn't worry too much about this loss. I thought this team played really well tonight. Kind of just stunk that they couldn't get it done. A little too late to really kind of take advantage of that back-to-back situation from Dallas. But hopefully that means they are going to be ramped up for this 2-game road trip to Buffalo and Philadelphia. And in the meantime, we will have tons of content for you at cleanhitshockey.com and all of our socials. So make sure you're following us there. And be sure to check out those new episodes coming out this week. Again, got some awesome guests coming. Really excited to share that as they happen. So got to follow us to find out. Anyways, I'm Brad. That is Corey. That is Kenny. Anything else you guys want to say?
No. Thanks for everybody for hanging out with us. Great to see Austin. Yep. Great to see Trent, Flo, everybody. I know I'm missing a ton of you, but we appreciate you all for hanging out with us.
Let's just win these games against Buffalo and Philadelphia so we can get some back-to-back wins.
Yep. All right. Adios, folks. Have a good one.
Later, guys.
We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change.